Good morning. I'm Stephen Romo in for Joe Fryer today.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. Right now on Morning News Now, final push as Democrats and Republicans battle for control of Congress. President Biden and key leaders from both sides of the aisle hit the campaign trail. The Democrats hoping to win over voters with new data showing the economy grew for the first time this year. We'll take a look at the impact the economy is having on voters' decisions and what to expect in the closing days before the election. Looming risk. While that new economic data out this week may look good, there are still growing concerns the U.S. may soon be heading towards a recession. What you can expect in the coming months and how to protect your investments if the economy tanks. The bird is freed. That's the message from Elon Musk overnight after he says he officially owns Twitter. The shakeups already happening at the social media giant and how it could eventually impact how you tweet. Also this morning, sugar rush. Most of us will likely be eating a lot of Halloween candy this weekend. We'll show you which candies are better than others for your teeth and how you can make sure your Halloween isn't followed by a trip to the dentist. All those sticky gummy ones that I love, I think are the bad ones.
Yeah, I think they are. They'll pop a filling right out of there. You don't want that. Great to see you, Savannah.
Yeah, you too. I'm happy to have you with us on this Friday morning. Both newlyweds, by the way. We haven't been together since then.
It's true.
Also happy to have you at home with us. We begin this morning with the renewed efforts to rally support from voters ahead of the midterm elections.
Yeah, Democrats are planning some big moves this weekend, hoping to gain momentum in several key battleground states. Many of those states, including Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Colorado, voted blue in the 2020 presidential election. But just 2 years later, support for Democrats has waned. Now, party leaders are going all out to keep control of both the House and the Senate. NBC News senior political editor Mark Murray joins us now for more on this election preview. Mark, good morning to you, and let's start in Georgia. Former President Barack Obama will hold a rally there later today. Then he'll head to Wisconsin and Michigan on Saturday. Our very own Shag Brewster spoke with incumbent Wisconsin Governor Evers about Obama's visit. Let's take a listen.
What do you hope to get from the former President Obama's visit?
Well, he's always right on. I mean, we had him 4 years ago, and he was outstanding. And people will be energized, and they understand what a great world leader he is. And I expect that we're going to get more people out to vote. That's the bottom line. This race is close, and the more people that we get out to vote, the best chances we have to win.
All right, so Mark, what do you think the Democrat strategy is here in turning to Obama in this final push before the election?
Yeah, Stephen, this is all about getting out the vote, and we are definitely in rally season. And Barack Obama, the Democrat, the former president, remains the Democrats' top surrogate to be able to do these types of events, even 6 years after leaving office, 14 years after first winning the presidency back in 2008. And a lot of this is just to galvanize rank-and-file Democratic voters, and particularly key African-American voters. That's why we're going to see the former president in Atlanta rallying for Raphael Warnock, as well as Stacey Abrams. And then, as you mentioned, off to Wisconsin and also in Michigan tomorrow. And one of the things that our NBC News poll ended up finding when it looked at overall enthusiasm was that some enthusiasm has been waning in urban America, and including with crucial Black voters. And that's just one poll, but it shows a reason why you're seeing the former president really trying to get the vote out, because in these battlegrounds, in these close races, every single vote matters.
Mark, let's talk about the current president now. President Biden and Vice President Harris are also making appearances for a really key race we've been talking a lot about this week after a debate. They're fundraising with Democratic Senate candidate John Fetterman at a Pennsylvania Democratic dinner party later tonight. Does President Biden have an advantage in Pennsylvania, and what can the vice president do to boost support here? I mean, especially, like I said, after performance in the debate this week earlier was less than stellar, according to many people. What do you think can happen here?
Well, this is Scranton Joe Biden, and so he does definitely have Pennsylvania roots. Pennsylvania is a state that he has visited as much as almost any other state as president. And what is going to be interesting is that we are seeing both President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris share the stage, something they often don't do for this fundraising event we're going to see in Philadelphia later tonight. It is notable, however, though, this isn't the kind of same rally that we're going to see Barack Obama do for Raphael Warnock and for Stacey Abrams. This is going to be more of a fundraising event. And Joe Biden has had a kind of a different role for Democrats, hitting the fundraising circuit, doing virtual fundraising events, doing actual official White House event in some of these battleground states and districts. So not your traditional rally.
Definitely want to watch, though, Mark. And if we're talking a big picture here, if you can, give us a larger view of this. Many of these races are neck and neck, and Democrats on the defensive here. What do they need to do to get voters out this final week before the midterms?
Yeah, it's just kind of events all like these, what you're seeing. You're raising money, having rallies to galvanize rank and file Democrats, winning over persuadable voters. Stephen, as you ended up mentioning, the last couple of weeks or so, polls show that the political winds are blowing at the Republicans' backs. And a lot of key races have kind of moved from lean Democrat to toss-up. Republicans seem to have, quote unquote, the momentum and the advantage. But I do remember just 2 years ago when all the polls were blowing in the Democrats' directions. And while Joe Biden ended up winning the presidency, Democrats didn't do as well as they thought they would do. And so sometimes these kind of like looking how the political winds are blowing, the ways that the polls are all moving, could sometimes provide some false positives or false negatives on what the real situation is. And we're not really going to know what the true environment is until we end up start counting those votes on November 8th.
The suspense is building, getting down to the wire there. All right, Mark Murray, thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Now, the economy is one of the biggest issues on voters' minds. And just yesterday, new figures showed economic growth turned positive for the first time this year. The gross domestic product in the third quarter rose by 2.6%, and that beat estimates. Here to help us understand what this all means is Barron's reporter Carlton English. Carlton, thanks so much for joining us this morning. So this is, as we've seen in many polls, one of the most important things, if not the most important thing to many voters. So after this period of negative growth, the economy finally turns positive in the third quarter. Just tell us, how does that happen? Is there somebody who can take, responsibility in a positive way for this? And also, does it ease recession fears?
Yeah, so, you get the headline number, which was that 2.6 annual growth rate that you noted, but you always have to dive into the details here. And one of the biggest contributors to that growth was the U.S. exporting more oil and gas. Now, the reason the U.S. is doing that, of course, is because troubles Europe is facing in light of the war in Ukraine. So what you also saw in the numbers was that the rise in consumer spending, it accelerated, but not quite as much as hoped. And when you look at the U.S. economy, historically, about 70% of the U.S. economy is you and I buying stuff, shopping, going out to restaurants, spending. So that's the part that you really need to see the strength in to have a little bit more confidence about this GDP figure that we got. Definitely love to see a positive number. I don't want to minimize that, but you really need to see that faster than anticipated growth in GDP spending to really feel confident about those numbers.
Let's also talk about another indicator and another thing that so many people are thinking about just as they're trying to make decisions for their families. Of course, the housing market. Mortgage rates are at a 21-year high. The average rate on a 30-year mortgage is now at more than 7%. Do you see any relief on the horizon for home buyers? Will this stabilize anytime soon?
Yeah, so as long as the Federal Reserve is intent on raising interest rates, we're probably going to see rates on mortgages continue to tick up. And that really does put pressure on home buyers because, yes, now you may see that home prices are going down and some people may get excited about that. But because we have seen mortgage rates more than double this year, housing affordability becomes a problem because, you look at the math and you're like, oh, 3% to 7%, it doesn't seem that big. But then when you actually do the math on what that means for a monthly payment, you're seeing monthly payments on a mortgage going up by hundreds, sometimes even more than $1,000 a month. And that really crimps affordability. So housing is going to continue to be a very tough spot.
Yeah, and that 3 to 7% might sound like a small little range, but when we really get down to the dollars of it, it's not necessarily. You mentioned those interest rates. Let's talk about next week's Fed meeting. Markets expect another big rate hike, but then some economists believe those increases could start to shrink. What's your take, especially as we really haven't seen inflation cool?
Yeah, the other data point that we're going to be getting early next week is going to be the jobs report. And jobs have remained strong. And that's, one of the Fed's 2 mandates. So, yes, we obviously want to see a healthy jobs report. But unfortunately, in terms of the market, in terms of an economic outlook, you run into this good news is bad news type scenario. So when the Fed gets that data on jobs, that's going to inform their further rate hiking path. It's likely that we're starting to see the effects of the previous hikes, and they were at unprecedented, well, I shouldn't say unprecedented, but historic levels over the last few months. And I think the Fed is going to realize that it can slow the pace. But again, we are very clearly in a rate hiking environment.
All right, Carlton English, thank you so much. Something so many people are thinking about right now as they're making decisions this holiday season. We appreciate your time.
Well, it's been more than 5 months since the deadly shooting at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas. But this morning, there are fresh calls for the resignation of one of the state's top police officials. And many of those calls are coming from the families of the victims. NBC News correspondent Morgan Chesky brings us the latest.
Inside Texas DPS headquarters, Uvalde families fighting through pain.
You basically lit a match and you set the town on fire. It's time for you, sir, to keep your word and offer your resignation.
Demanding DPS Director Stephen McCraw step down.
Are you a man of your word? Absolutely. Then resign.
McCraw at the center intended to update the ongoing shooting investigation.
But I can tell you this right now. DPS is an institution, okay, right now, did not fail the community. Plain and simple.
The school massacre in May now leaves the town in perpetual mourning. This as parent fury is growing louder over new body cam video obtained by NBC affiliate WOAI during the botched response by multiple law enforcement agencies.
This is so sad, dude. He shot kids, bro.
In it, you see Sergeant Juan Maldonado, the first trooper fired from the internal investigation, approached by multiple officers outside Robb Elementary.
What's the safest way to do this? I'm not trying to get clapped out.
And near the very classrooms where the gunman opened fire.
Does anybody know there's 9 kids in it? It's been about an hour.
It's disgusting. It makes me nauseated. They knew our kids were right behind that hallway. In that room, they were bleeding to death.
Uvalde plans to pay tribute to the 21 lives lost this weekend in an event called Remember Their Names. Meanwhile, the man in charge of Texas DPS stressing he's not leaving.
And with at least one officer fired and multiple facing termination, when would you plan on giving your resignation?
No, not right now.
Not right now.
Thank you. Thank you.
And tonight, it is not just families of those lost in Uvalde calling for the director to resign. Republican Congressman Tony Gonzalez, who represents Uvalde, is now saying what Democratic lawmakers have been saying for months, calling for Director McCraw to resign immediately. Morgan Chesky, NBC News, Austin.
All right, a lot to watch there. Morgan, thank you.
Now, a homicide investigation is underway in northeastern Oklahoma this morning after 8 people were killed in a house fire. It happened in a neighborhood called Broken Arrow Thursday afternoon, and while authorities have not released any of the victims' names, they have confirmed a family of 8, 2 adults and 6 children lived in the home. Officials have not released any other details about the fire, saying the investigation is complex and ongoing.
Turning now to a wave of respiratory illnesses among children, which is now spreading to more parts of the country, even in warmer areas where cases are pretty rare. NBC national correspondent Gabe Gutierrez has the latest from Arizona as hospitals work on new techniques to try to keep up with that spike.
Phoenix Children's Hospital behind me is not at capacity, but other hospitals across the country are getting there as concerns grow over the potential for a triple threat this winter. Inside Phoenix Children's Hospital, Cheyenne Childers' 2-month-old son Ryder is fighting RSV.
Terrifying. It's a serious illness, with him being this young. He doesn't have an immune system to fight it off.
This here in Arizona, cases of RSV are up 344% over a typical season. It's a common virus, but it's affecting more kids because of lower immunity after isolating during the pandemic.
Did you ever think that this respiratory illness would be so serious?
No. When I first heard about it, I thought it was just something small.
Now, pediatric hospitals across the country, even in warmer climates, are bracing for a rough winter.
COVID-19 combined with a potentially bad influenza season, and now we're seeing RSV going up at the same time. That obviously makes us concerned that we might get into this triple pandemic situation.
A key part of the fight against RSV here, what Phoenix Children's calls a first-of-its-kind digital data surveillance program. Known as Watcher, it uses a predictive algorithm to forecast the children at risk of deteriorating quickly.
Pediatric patients are different than adults because they have very subtle changes in their assessment and in their vital signs. Watcher helps us because in the background it's monitoring for these little tiny things.
And a new CDC report just out found that flu hospitalizations in Chile, which often previews the flu season here in the U.S., were actually lower than pre-pandemic levels. That's attributed to higher vaccination rates. Back to you.
Good info there. All right, Gabe, thank you.
And now it's time for your Morning News Now weather, and we're tracking showers and thunderstorms for some parts of the country as we head into the weekend.
Yeah, a lot going on. Let's check in with meteorologist Michelle Grossman for more. Hey, Michelle.
Hey guys, happy Friday. And yeah, unfortunately, some of us are starting out our weekend with showers, and we're going to see some showers in the forecast pretty much all weekend long in the south. And then by Halloween, we're going to see it into the northeast. So first, starting in the south, we have some showers falling this morning, even some thunder, some lightning out there. We've been seeing it all night long, and we're seeing it this morning as well. We're also looking at the chance for severe weather as we go throughout the evening hours, afternoon hours. That's in portions of eastern Texas. So just south of Houston, we could see winds gusting up to 60 miles per hour. Could see some hail as well. That's been pretty persistent with some of these storms. And also a few tornadoes are possible. We're not expecting an outbreak of tornadoes, but one or two is possible. Then as we go throughout tomorrow, this is a very slow moving cold front. So it's going to move very slowly to portions of central Gulf states. We're looking at winds gusting once again to 60 miles per hour as a risk. Isolated hail, low tornado risk, but not zero. So that includes cities like Hattiesburg. We're looking at New Orleans and also Baton Rouge. This is later on Saturday into Saturday evening. And this will be with us pretty much all weekend long. Here's the setup. We have a cold front that's moving to the east. It's bringing showers and storms to central Texas right now. We have long stretching storms from Oklahoma City pretty much to San Angelo. Then as we go throughout time, we're going to see this moving off to the east, bringing the chance for some really heavy rain. We could see up to 3 inches in some spots. Tomorrow, that frontal system moves off to the Gulf Coast states. We're looking at strong storms from Louisiana, also to Alabama. And you can see along that front those really bright colors. That's where we could see some really heavy rainfall as well. And then as we go throughout Sunday, that rain spreads into the Ohio Valley. So it sort of expands, but it loses its punch a bit. So we're not expecting severe weather, but we're expecting some soaking rains from Georgia to Kentucky. And this is widespread in terms of the rainfall over the next 3 days, where you see those brighter colors, the oranges, the yellows, the reds. That's where we're expecting some localized flooding. So a lot of people are involved with that threat for localized flooding. It's going to be a cool rain as well. Temperatures in the 40s and 50s, well below normal for this time of year. 57 in Midland, Texas, 66 in El Paso. But it's going to be mild in the north and actually a lot of sunshine as we start out Saturday. So we're looking at temperatures in the 60s in the Midwest, the Great Lakes, into portions of New England, also the Northeast, 69 degrees in Cincinnati. And we're going to keep it warm early next week as well, guys. We're going to be at 68 degrees by next Tuesday. I know, Savannah. That's not great news. You want that crisp, cool air. It's coming, I promise.
Yeah, Joe and I have a disagreement here. I am ready for fall and cold and sweaters.
I think I side with Joe on this one.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. I know, like, I'll be like, what was I thinking in a few months? But I don't know. It's time. You know?
It's Halloween. Yeah, that makes sense.
Love to lean in. All right, Michelle, thanks. See you in a bit.
Sure.
Well, coming up on Morning News now, nuclear concerns over the war in Ukraine.
Yeah, what Russian President Vladimir Putin is now saying about nuclear weapons as fighting intensifies in part of the country. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Russian President Vladimir Putin is taking aim at the West over the war in Ukraine. And in a speech yesterday, Putin accused the West of playing a, quote, dangerous, bloody, and dirty game.
Yeah, Putin also framed the war as a Russian battle against Western dominance, but downplayed fears that his country would use nuclear weapons on the battlefield.
We've never said anything proactively about possible use of nuclear weapons by Russia. We have only hinted in response to those statements that the Western leaders have made. It doesn't make sense for us to do it, neither politically nor military. The only country in the world that has used nuclear weapons against a non-nuclear state is the United States. They did it twice against Japan.
NBC News foreign correspondent Matt Bradley joins us now from Kyiv with more on this. Hey, Matt, good to see you. So a lot to unpack yesterday from President Putin's speech we just played a little bit of there. What were some of the biggest takeaways from that, and what's been the response from President Biden to those comments that we just heard right there about nuclear weapons?
Yeah, really quite a lot to take away from that speech. And, the most stunning part was what you just played. Vladimir Putin, after weeks, months of saying that he was going to possibly use nuclear weapons against Ukraine, all of a sudden, he has no idea that he had ever threatened to do that explicitly. It was always just a hint. But, we heard from President Biden. He actually came out and expressed some very profound skepticism of those claims. And he made the same point that I'm making, which is, why was he threatening to use nuclear weapons all this time if now suddenly he's going to be dialing that down? But there were a lot of other things in this speech that were mystifying, but not new. Vladimir Putin has, for a long time, been trying to equate his war with Ukraine with a broader culture war. So basically dancing on the edge between culture war, as we use it in the West to mean something figurative, and actual war, an actual invasion that has killed tens of thousands of people, including tens of thousands, probably, of Russian soldiers. So he essentially said that this war targeting Ukraine is also against the entire West, and not just really the West, but mostly against Western elites. He described, dozens of genders. He talked about cancel culture. He talked about gay parades. These are things that he wants the Russian public, and this was a not so veiled sop to Western conservatives, to say that he is on their side. All of this coming right ahead of the U.S. midterm election. So it looks as though it was a not so hidden message to conservatives in the West saying, I am on your side. I am against this cancel culture, leftist identity politics mentality that we hear about so often in the United States and throughout Western Europe. Guys.
So many inflammatory statements in that speech, and Matt, but let's turn to what's happening on the ground there, specifically in the southern Kherson region, where both sides have been talking about the fighting for a while. What's the latest there?
Well, the latest is really just an ominous silence. I've been speaking to people who are in Kherson, and this city has essentially emptied out, and that's because Russian officials have already left. Some of the Ukrainian collaborators with the Russians have left as well. And the Russians have been beseeching the civilians left in Kherson to please leave, to go to the Russian side of the river, or sort of the side of the river that is closest to Russia. The entire city, of course, is still in Russian control. But the people that I've spoken to said that now there's kind of an eerie silence, an ominous sort of silence that has descended on the city. The streets are mostly empty as people have more or less totally evacuated. And we just heard now that evacuation effort is entirely complete. But we heard from the government here that it looked as though that the Russians were essentially leaving Kherson, but now it looks as though they're ready to fortify it and ready for a blistering battle there that many there worry may not even leave the city standing.
Hey, Matt, quickly, one of the concerns in this sort of new phase of war has been the targeting of these infrastructure targets, energy facilities, water, things like that. What can you tell us about the latest there, the ongoing power situation?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a bright and beautiful day here in Kyiv, so you can't really tell, but there are rolling blackouts throughout this city, and at night you can see it much more clearly, where whole sections of the city are essentially darkened. We're in a hotel now that has its own generator. A lot of Ukrainians have rushed out to buy fuel generators that they are using to basically light their own homes. President Zelensky said that some 30% of the electrical capacity in this country has been damaged, and energy officials are rushing to try to repair it. But once it's repaired, it's unclear how long that will last. The Russians can simply target it again. Civilian infrastructure, guys.
All right, Matt Bradley in Kyiv for us. Stay safe and thank you.
Well, more international headlines now, and yet another ballistic missile launch by North Korea.
Yeah, Raf Sanchez joins us now from Tel Aviv with that and more. Hey, Raf, good morning.
Hey, Savannah. Hey, Stephen. Good morning. Yeah, another day, another missile test from Kim Jong-un. The North Korean military fired 2 short-range ballistic missiles into the Sea of Japan. That's according to the South Korean government. The U.S. has said North Korea may be preparing another nuclear bomb test, its first in 5 years, and warns there will be serious consequences if it does. In the Philippines, the death toll from major flooding has reached reached at least 31. An approaching storm triggered heavy rains and mudslides in the south of the country. Rescue teams have been using inflatable rafts and anything they can find to reach stranded people. And finally, a journey to safety for some not so big cats. 4 lion cubs and a black leopard cub have been safely moved out of war-torn Ukraine and into a Polish zoo. The little guys survived drone attacks and bombing during the first few months of their lives. And guys, the lions are ultimately heading stateside to a wildcat sanctuary in Minnesota. Guys.
Gosh, they're so cute.
It's adorable.
I know. I wonder, like, when they're like that, if like they would stay, you know, they would have a relationship as they get older and scarier and larger.
Friends.
You know, because right there they look like they're little.
Yeah, something from the Lion King. All right.
Yeah.
Ralph
Thanks,
Sanchez,
Ralph.
thank you.
And coming up, new evidence that movement could be the best medicine.
Yeah, why cancer patients are now being told to exercise more and how it could benefit their treatment. Interesting stuff. That's coming up next.
Welcome back. We've got an important report now about your health. It turns out more doctors are encouraging physical activity during cancer treatment.
Yeah, this is interesting stuff. Exercise oncology is an emerging field studying the positive effects of physical exertion on cancer patients. NBC News medical fellow Dr. Akshay Syal joins us now with more on that. This is fascinating stuff.
It really is.
Yeah.
And that name, exercise oncology, yeah.
Good morning, guys. Yeah, exercise oncology, you know, what some doctors are calling a paradigm shift in cancer treatment. We spoke with a patient who accomplished a major fitness goal, all while undergoing cancer treatment. Take a look.
Erica Aleman was gearing up for the Chicago Marathon when she got some devastating news.
The only thing I thought is about my daughters, how I'm going to tell my daughters that their mom is dying.
She was diagnosed with stage 2 triple-negative breast cancer.
I didn't know if I was going to be able to continue running.
And would need both chemotherapy and surgery.
She said, I would like to run the Chicago Marathon. Can I do that? Hi, Erica.
Dr. Regina Stein, an oncologist at Northwestern Medicine, gave Erica the hope she needed.
I said to her, your goal is something that we can achieve. You maintaining your conditioning, your running, will actually benefit you.
She's part of a growing group of doctors starting to encourage more activity during cancer treatment, an emerging field known as exercise oncology.
There was literally a 300% increase in the number of trials between 2010 and 2020.
Catherine Schmitz, a leading researcher in the field and author of the book Moving Through Cancer, predicted this new shift in medicine.
We have the data now that tell us that people living with and beyond cancer should be physically active as well.
Research has shown that exercise can improve fatigue, quality of life, and even help your heart and lungs during cancer treatment. It can be as simple as putting on comfortable shoes to get the blood flowing.
We know that as little as twice weekly walking for 10 minutes is enough to really make a powerful impact.
A good starting point is to aim for 30 minutes of moderate exercise at least 3 times a week, including both cardio and weight training. But don't be discouraged if this seems like too much.
What was the hardest part of the marathon for you?
I couldn't walk. There were days that I couldn't even put my shoes on.
After 16 bouts of chemo, she kept putting in the miles.
I used to get chemo on Wednesdays, so I woke up really early, and 5:45 a.m. I ran before my chemo.
Until race day, 5 days before her surgery.
I honestly ran with my heart. When my body was giving up, I just used my heart, and that got me through the finish line.
Wow. How incredible. And I know you have an update for us.
We have an exciting update. Erica's team has told us her pathology report came back, and she is cancer-free. So hopefully we'll be running many more marathons in the future.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah,
wow.
that's great news. What an update.
Great news.
Yeah.
And also what, potential breakthrough there to have that kind of difference now in treatment that could help you. It's so important for so many people and families.
Yeah.
All right.
Dr. Syal, thanks so much for bringing that to us.
Thank you. Always great to have you. Now, 5 years after the Me Too movement, actress Rosanna Arquette is looking back at its impact. Arquette was one of the first people to publicly accuse Harvey Weinstein of sexual misconduct back in 2017. I spoke exclusively with Arquette for the season finale of Meet the Press Reports. Here's part of that conversation. What do you think the legacy of Me Too means now? What do you think 5 years in, that momentum that was born in this seminal moment allows to be happening now?
Well, was there a backlash? I mean, you see that there's clearly been a backlash from it all because the patriarchy has reared its very ugly head, and now we're witness to it. But at the end of the day, I don't think women and the really good men, there's so many good men. There's so many good men that have our backs. They're not going to let it happen. It's not just women. It's also really evolved men who are not going to allow this to happen here.
You mentioned backlash, and I want to ask you about that. And I also want to ask you about something maybe even more concerning potentially than backlash. In doing this story and talking about 5 years of Me Too, I've been talking to so many people and specifically interested in what young women think, feel, what it's allowed for them, how they see their path and their future forward. What would you say to a young woman who feels like the Me Too movement was for celebrities and people far away from them, and they are still experiencing things that didn't help stop?
Yeah. I have a 27-year-old daughter, and she doesn't want to be living in this country right now. So, and she's angry, but she's motivated, and the young people inspire me. I mean, the younger generation, you are much wiser. You have a lot more than what we had now, the tools to take it to the next level, and and please do, because it's important. The next generation continues this. Make sure people vote. Our voice is being heard, and the oppression of women in America is just absolutely not.
And for a young person who thinks, that wasn't for me, that wasn't about me, what would you say to them?
Oh, well, it scares me when someone says that, because it's all for you, It's absolutely all for you. I mean, I did this for my daughter so that she would be able to have her own voice and be able to stand up to her, an abuser, and be able to speak her truth.
Now, in this special, I also looked at how Gen Z has been impacted by the Me Too movement. A little bit of that you heard there. You can catch Meet the Press Reports, Gen Z and Me Too this Sunday morning at 11 Eastern, and it's also available right now on Peacock. I hope you'll take a look.
Definitely don't want to miss that one. Well, coming up on Morning News Now, Twitter takeover. Elon Musk says he's officially taken charge of the social media giant. So what kind of changes could you see online? We'll explain that one next.
Plus, you could be in for a headache if you're planning to travel for the holidays. Airline complaints are on the rise. We'll explain what it means for your next trip and how airlines are responding. Stay with us.
We're back with the beginning of a new era for Twitter. CNBC reporting that Tesla CEO Elon Musk is now at the helm of the social media giant this morning, citing multiple sources. Musk had until today to complete that back-and-forth $44 billion deal or face a battle in court.
In a potential sign Musk was closing in on the takeover, he posted this video, take a look at it, of his arrival at Twitter's headquarters in San Francisco this week. As you can see, it looks like that is a sink. Yep, just a normal sink. Saying he's met with several people at the company. NBC News technology correspondent Jake Ward joins us now with the latest and hopefully an answer as to what is going on with the sink. Jake, good to see you. So CNBC is also reporting that 2 top Twitter executives have already left the company. They won't be coming back. Walk us through what we know about where we're at with the deal and the fallout. And I mean, yeah, if you know anything about the sink, we'd appreciate that information as well.
Well, that's right. So, Savannah, I'm not sure I can answer the sink thing. It seems to have been a meme he wanted to put in. He put the caption of that tweet, let that sink in. Trying to sort of extend his range as a meme lord, it seems. But we know that this week he was closing in on this. He had been up against the wall. If this day, Friday, had gone by, 2 p.m. today, Pacific, if that had gone by and he hadn't closed this deal, then he would be open to a new trial, which nobody seems to have wanted. And he seems to to have closed this deal after waffling over the past few months as to whether he really wanted to pursue Twitter. So now he seems to be in charge. Sources inside say that, yes, the CEO, Parag Agrawal, the CFO, and the head of trust and safety, who was a member of the legal team, were all let go and may have even been escorted from the building. So he came right in and did this sort of theatrical, dethroning of the top executives at Twitter. Now he is there and in charge, and we're all sort of waiting to see what happens next. Typically, I would be, looking at one of these transitions and saying, well, there will be, a lot of sort of vagaries and so forth and pleasantries as the transition happens. That does not seem to be the case with the transition here, you guys.
Yeah, the time for pleasantries seems to have already passed. And Jake, Musk did reveal part of his vision for Twitter, saying he wants to see it become a global leader in advertising and brand awareness. He also said, quote, Twitter obviously cannot be a free-for-all hellscape where anything can be said with no consequences. So do we know what sort of changes Musk is planning in the near term?
We certainly don't know, definitively what he has in mind. We only know the things that he has said in the past. He has talked about taking it private. That's something that he has talked about quite openly. And we know that he is now in a position where he has to reassure advertisers. Twitter, as you know, makes its money off advertising. And, coming in, dethroning the top people, saying everything that he has been saying critically about Twitter in the last few months, he still has to come in there and convince advertisers that they should be on there. And that seems to be the origin of that statement, which is the most complete comments we have so far about his plans. And it's a funny list because it describes wanting to create a, quote, warm and welcome environment for all, and yet one that is also a digital town square, but is also a respected advertising platform. It's a very complicated, some people have even said to me, contradictory list of ambitions for this thing. It is a very, very difficult thing to run a social media platform. Content moderation alone is an incredibly heavy lift, and so it's not at all clear what's going to happen if, especially, he continues to knock people out of that place as he shapes it in his own image, you guys.
Yeah, and it's interesting now that he's at the helm because he's had such public opinions on content moderation to see exactly how that goes into play. Jake, you talk about these sort of marching out of some of these executives. There's also been reports of more widespread layoffs impacting up to potentially 75% of Twitter staff. The company has denied that, but do we know anything at this point about a larger scale potential restructuring?
Well, when I have been speaking to people inside and formerly of Twitter about it, everybody is worried about their jobs and quite demoralized, is one of the themes that I've been hearing from a lot of people. We don't know exactly what his plans are going to be. The Washington Post, as you mentioned, reported that he had told bankers he was going to lay off up to 75% of the workforce. But, at this point, it's probably going to be a smaller number than that. But this is the thing. I mean, this is a company that really depends on labor to do that content moderation, right? That alone is a really difficult thing. And so all his plans for fighting bots, creating a super version of the app, these are the things he says that he wants to do there. Those are very labor-intensive things. And so it's not at all clear how he's going to do that while scaling back the number of people that work there. So everybody's going to be watching the next few weeks. And certainly I think it's going to be not at all the kind of choreography we're used to, where you see sort of quiet moves, this and that and the other. I think we're going to see a lot more big moves from Elon Musk in even his first hours as the new head of Twitter, you guys.
Yeah, this is one I think in some ways we're sort of sick of talking about, but we also can't look away because it really is interesting to see what's going to unfold. Jake Ward, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Well, after a rough summer travel season, airlines are feeling the pressure to improve their performance in time for the holidays. NBC's Tom Costello tells us how they're working to keep passengers happy.
From the cockpit to the control tower to the traveling public, no one wants a repeat of this past summer's travel meltdowns.
We're very anxious. We just want to get home. It has been the worst experience ever.
New data from the DOT shows the level of passenger frustration hit a boiling point. In August, complaints up 6% over July, up an eye-popping 320% over pre-pandemic levels, even with 15% fewer flights than 2019. 22% of all flights delayed, 2.5% canceled in August, with the Biden administration putting the pressure on the airlines now to do better, with Thanksgiving just 4 weeks away.
I think it'll be an improvement from the toughest moments we saw over the summer, but not perfect.
Some airlines say they're still recovering and staffing up.
We're nearly staffed. We are just, short pilots to fly all of our aircraft.
This holiday season, passenger volume expected to approach 2019 levels despite sky-high inflation.
Our planes have been basically 90% full.
I think travel demand for airlines is permanently higher. It's at a higher level.
To ensure your travel goes as smoothly as possible, travel pros recommend booking now. Seek the earliest flight of the day and fly direct to avoid connections. Transportation Department says it continues to monitor delays and cancellations to ensure that airlines are actually flying the schedules, the flights that they promise and sell, and that individuals who buy those tickets and then have a flight canceled, that they actually get a refund. Back to you.
All right, Tom Costello, thank you.
And let's stay on business headlines. We're going to start with a weak outlook from Amazon after disappointing quarter earnings results.
Yeah, CNBC's Silvana Henao joins us with that and other news. Good morning, Silvana.
Hey, Steve and Savannah, good morning. Well, Amazon is issuing a disappointing fourth quarter forecast and missing revenue estimates in its latest earnings report. Shares sank in extended trading yesterday evening, and it's the second time this year that Amazon's results have been disappointing enough to spark a double-digit percentage sell-off. And like the rest of big tech, Amazon has had a rocky year as the company combats macroeconomic headwinds coupled with a slowdown in its core retail business. This as consumers return to shopping in stores. YouTube is changing up how you'll see content displayed on its website and its app. The company will now separate shorts, live streams, and regular videos into their own tabs on a creator's channel rather than appearing in a single list. YouTube says the change was based on user feedback and that it will make it easier for viewers to find the content they're most interested in. The new format began rolling out on Thursday, but will become broadly available to more users in the coming weeks. And beer is on pace to lose its leading share of the U.S. alcohol market to spirits. According to a report by the Distilled Spirits Council, 2021 marked the 12th year in a row that spirits have taken away market share from beer in the U.S. Beer, including hard seltzer, accounted for 42% of the market last year, while spirits accounted for 41%. But beer fans remain committed. Although beer is shrinking in market size, the Brewers Association says 2021 beer sales were up 1% year over year, guys. And you know what else is taking over? It's those ready to drink cocktails.
Oh, yeah, big time. Those
are Yep, makes it easy. Get to drinking right away.
Yeah, exactly. Simple. All right, Silvana, thanks so much.
You got it.
And now let's talk about your money. With fears of a recession growing, many Americans are now looking to protect their investment portfolios.
Yeah, a lot of concerns here. So how can you make sure your hard-earned savings are actually safe? Joining us now is Brian Reynolds. He's the head of global fixed income strategy for Wells Fargo Investment Institute. Brian, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
A lot of people, of course, talking about recession. We've heard that in the headlines for quite a bit now. What are your predictions on that, and do you think it could be different than the Great Recession of 2008?
Well, it'll definitely be different than the Great Recession, but I think one's coming. I mean, next week we're going to get the Fed hiking for 75 basis points. It's the fourth 75 basis point hike in a row. We haven't seen that since the early 80s, and there's a real lag on when the Fed hikes to when we see it impact the economy.
So let's talk about investments, people's money at home. If you're concerned about this or watching your 401k, anything like that, what should people know? What types of things are more at risk than others here? Is there a way to kind of protect yourself?
Well, I think the most important thing, because we see a lot of clients get too defensive, especially when a recession's coming, they want to move all into cash, and the markets look forward. So about the time the recession's starting, the markets are going to start looking towards the end of the recession. So if you get too defensive going into the recession, that's a big problem we see a lot of clients make, and you miss a really nice run-up that we often see during the recession, again, looking forward. But one thing I would suggest is just getting higher quality. So you're looking at like large cap stocks instead of something that's riskier like emerging market or small caps. And in the fixed income space, because we've really seen these yields increase significantly now over the last year, I would actually start looking to lock in some of those rates. So start buying maybe some longer term bonds, because as we move into a recession, we're likely to see interest rates start to fall. So we may not see these rates again if we're sitting here next year at this time.
saying.
So for the average person at home, though, who is concerned about maybe their retirements or investments, what advice would you have for them?
Also, because you mentioned, sorry to jump in here, but
Yeah.
you mentioned how at the beginning of a recession, they're looking at the end. But what about right now? When we're like, ooh, is a recession happening? I've had probably 4 people this week say to me, have you looked at your 401k lately? Don't. You know what I mean? Like, what about right now?
Yeah, this is a really tricky time, right? Because we keep seeing the markets react to the Fed. So the market's looking for the Fed to start to downshift. And there's maybe a 50-50 shot that they'll downshift in December from 75 to 50 and then maybe to 25 before they stop early next year. And so a lot of investors want to get in front of that because as soon as the Fed pauses, then that tends to be a really good time for riskier assets. So they're trying to front run that. So I think you're a little too late now to get too defensive. That was maybe the move 6 to 12 months ago.
Okay, well,
all right.
There you go.
Yeah. The advice is just not look at the 401k. The people are telling Savannah, I don't know if that's good.
Wait a year. I think you'll be pretty happy a year from now.
All right, great.
Brian, thank you.
Thanks. We appreciate you coming in this morning. And coming up, having those treats without the tricks this Halloween.
Yeah, up next, how to get your candy sugar fix without having to pay for it later at the dentist. You're watching Morning News Now. Welcome back. Now for some news that's literally out of this world. NASA's James Webb Space Telescope is giving us a glimpse of the early universe. Check it out. Astronomers say these images are helping them identify new, never-before-seen objects in the early universe dating back to around the Big Bang. That's because the Webb telescope can detect distinct infrared light from far distances. It can also use gravitational lensing to magnify even the faintest galaxies in the background of images. That means astronomers are now able to study and understand them in detail like they never were before. And also, the images are just so pretty to look at.
They're so pretty. I
Love
mean,
those.
it's like, looks like a computer background or something.
Yeah.
You can see, but you're like, oh, it's really space.
It's like something from the 90s on your Windows 95.
Exactly. Very, very cool. All right, now we end this hour with a little something for all you candy connoisseurs out there.
Yeah, with Halloween weekend kicking off tonight, trick-or-treaters are preparing to dress up as their favorite ghosts and goblins, of course, and celebrities, too. It's all in hopes of snagging handfuls of candy, but not to be a killjoy here, dentists warn that certain sweets, I know, they may turn out to be more of a trick than a treat when it comes to your teeth.
Joining us now to discuss which of those Halloween sweets you might want to avoid this weekend is Dr. Edmund Hewlett. He's the national spokesperson for the American Dental Association. Doctor, good morning. Thanks for being here with us. All right, look, it's not realistic that everybody's going to fully stay away from candy or that kids aren't even going to eat some of the ones they're going to tell us not to. But generally, what do we need to know here so that we're not, as Stephen said earlier, popping out a filling or ending up with a cavity or, you know, whatever is the worst thing for you?
Hi, Stephen, Savannah. And yeah, as a former kid, I certainly understand the joy of Halloween and a bag full of candy. So here's what kids and their parents need to know. The thing is the amount of time that the candy is in the mouth. By that, I mean, if there's a very sticky candy like caramel, the caramel is going to stay on the teeth for an extended amount of time. And then the sugar is there and feeding the bacteria that make cavities by their creation of acid. So the amount of time, actually I see chocolate. Chocolate is not going to stick and hang around as long.
I was going to say, this full screen has every type of
all the
candy
candies.
Okay, so chocolate is maybe okay.
Well, as candies go, you know, but sticky and gummy are probably the ones that you want to be very careful about. And for all of them together, just think about how long you're eating the candy or your kids are eating the candy. And then what are you doing after that? Are you just leaving the teeth alone? Are you brushing them, which is a very good idea? Brushing them with a fluoridated toothpaste, which we recommend anyway. Even rinsing if your toothpaste isn't available, or just a wet, dry toothbrush to brush the teeth to get the candy residue off. And actually maybe having candy with a meal. So, you know, you have a bit along with the treat as a treat during a meal. And then that eating the meal helps to clear the sugar off of the teeth a little more efficiently than if that's not the case.
Interesting.
Wow.
I did not realize that. I will say, don't be one of those homes that give out toothbrushes, though, because those are the ones that get eggs thrown at them. That's my own personal advice. But, Doctor, I did want to ask you,
seen that.
You mentioned caramel and those sticky things being worse for your teeth. Why is that?
Well, just because because they're sticky and the candy stays attached to the teeth for a longer period of time, and as it's sitting there, it's feeding the sugar to the bacteria who are creating the acid that's eating the holes in the teeth. So you may not even realize it's there. It can be hard to feel, right? And so you don't know it's there. And unless you're going to be very mindful, A, to only eat a little bit and stop, and then B, brush your teeth soon after, then it's going to be more of a problem.
Yeah.
And let's face it, kids are not going to be as mindful as that unless somebody is right there watching.
Especially on a weekend like this where we're celebrating with the candy. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us. Great tips. We'll stay away from caramel is my headline, and we appreciate your time this morning. Happy Halloween.
Delightful. Happy to help.
All right, and that does it for this hour of Morning News Now.
But your news continues right now.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.